This is John SCHABEN of the Dunlap Livestock Auction, bringing you our market reports from Tuesday, April 14th and Wednesday, April 15th. As always, our weekly Tuesday auction features fed cattle and weigh cows and weigh bulls. This week, light receipts in both categories there. Fed cattle had a slightly stronger undertone. The weigh cows and weigh bulls would be sharply higher from the week before. We had a big downturn there a week ago as we started hearing about plant closures and one of the majors pulling out of the auctions as they did when we had the Holcomb fire. And so we sit that with a struggle with cash discovery issues in the marketplace anyway, affecting those auction market cattle. 93 to 96 we caught most all the cattle this week. Again, light in those numbers in the weigh cows and the weigh bulls, significantly higher than the week before, but last week was significantly lower. Quite a yo-yo market there. With auctions shutting down around the country, weigh cows seem to be in shorter supply all of a sudden. Especially the leaner cows, that thing was quite a bit higher. If you wanted to call it 10 higher, I wouldn't argue with you. That put a lot of the cows in the 60s, did get some of them real high yielding cows in the 70s. The bulls easily into the 80s, but a lot of them in the 90s, I think, with maybe a top weigh bull at $1. The weigh up market sure helped things out as it carried over into our bred cow and breeding bull sale that we had on Wednesday the 15th today. We kicked off with those Keller wind chime bulls, and for those around here, understand how good of an outfit that is. Consistency was a big stronghold in that auction all day. The cattle were consistent, really top quality bulls came to them today with the right pedigrees and all the right data on them. But the prices were really consistent. I think 2,400 was our low on a bull today. I think maybe 3,800 was the high. We averaged around 3,000, maybe just a freckle over that on 50 bulls. Great set and a great family to work for. We always appreciate our business with the Keller family. We moved into the cow auction, led off with a really nice set of young and solid mouth pairs with really big calves at side. The cows were kind of that 5 to 8 years old. Those pairs traded kind of in that $1,500 to $1,700 range on a really nice set of young pairs. There were a few age pairs on that deal that they bought well too, just because big cows and big calves really dollar up pretty well now. I was thinking about one pair that we had to split. We were trying to get 11 and a quarter for maybe. We split her and she brings $13.50 with a high weight cow market and a calf trade, light calf trade that's pretty exciting with all things considered here. Then we moved into those Sulzberger pairs that we get a chance to sell every year. Set of first calf heifers come out of Montana with a reputation as far as you can take them. They're cookie cutters. There was 80 of them. We sold them in small groups so everybody could get after them. A lot of internet play on those today, but they're pretty easy cows to buy over the internet. If you've seen one, you kind of seen them all, and you'd really like them. You could send them to anywhere in the country. Was the trade a little apprehensive? Yeah, it felt like it. But they sold really well. They averaged $2,000. It just seems, and I'm sure a lot of it has to do with your crowd size, as we've been limited from our governor with 25 people or less. It makes it pretty difficult to run any kind of a successful cow auction with those numbers. I think we stopped our sale 3 times to control our crowd size, to move people around, to shuffle them around a little bit, bring them in and out when particular classes of cattle we're selling. Sure doesn't make it easy, but that part of it we can deal with, and everything else. I just really appreciate all the support that we have, not only for our consigners, and I think about our consigners, and I'm going to use Amy Sulzberger, for example. They've reared them heifers since they've been calves. They bred them. They've been through them their whole life. They calved them out. They've lived with them. Showtime is today, and they can't even show up at our market to watch them sell. And for that, I'm very sorry. But I also know they understand the deal, and if they have a seller, if Amy's taking a spot of one buyer, that's not good for the marketplace either. So I really appreciate that. I'm also glad that we're able to broadcast all our auctions on the internet, not only to get buyer activity in that sale, but also to give our sellers a chance to at least see their stock come through the ring. So those thanks to all those consigners. But Amy's pairs would have averaged $2,000. I think they had a high of 2,050 and maybe a low of 1,950, and they're a really nice set. And as I said before, you can just kind of send them to anybody. The rest of the cow sale was real active and really good trade on the bred cows, up to 16 and a quarter on those young cows. Getting a little late for some people, but then as others, as we calve a little bit later. It seems like every season, as we move a little bit more to late spring, grass time kind of calving, that pair or the bred cow trade was also really good. Finished up with some consigned bulls and sold them real well. 1,800 to 3,600, I think. Couple Hereford bulls topped the market here today. So we appreciate all that. We have a feeder auction coming up this Friday. Again, as always, we're asking, as much as I hate this, we're asking sellers not to attend in the auction. If you absolutely have to watch your cattle sell, I'm sure you can. You're welcome to sit out in the parking lot. We'll call you in. You can step in, watch them, and then, as always, we'd love you to get in and get your check right away. That's still one of the great things about our mechanism, and we are thankful that our governor at least sees that part of it. That commerce is very important. People have bills to pay. And like I said, with our short numbers on Tuesday, if we had a mandate to shut down from a financial standpoint, that might have looked pretty good, but it's darn sure not good for the market. We've got all kinds of price discovery problems in our market that we've had for years now, especially in this fed cattle discovery mechanism of price. We don't need to do anything to thwart that today. So it's very important that the market stay open, function. Even as dysfunctioning as our market is, it still must try to function, and so we're lucky that we're able to do that. As far as that sale on Friday, we're going to have a nice run of calves and yearlings. The light calf trade, those cattle might be going back to grass, or as I'm calling them today, long-term cattle, kind of a new term I guess I have to use. Those cattle are met with quite a bit more acceptance. I think as everybody is hoping that maybe as time goes on, this thing will rebound. The shorter-term cattle, so that the 9-weight steers, the 850-pound heifers, even though there's plenty of people to buy them, they're just done at significantly different figures and of instances where we might see a 6-weight grass steer actually bring as many dollars per head as a 9-weight steer going to the feed yard. The only thing I'd say, it sounds kind of crazy, but grass time every year, it's something that we deal with. Or you deal with the difference between a fleshy 6-weight steer and a green 6-weight steer. It can be $200 a head on any given year, as we see it this year. So it, unfortunately, we're seeing a plenty of that right now, but again, it's not the first time I guess we've seen it this time of year. I would encourage, if you're at all thinking about moving lighter cattle, I think that market's rewarding you for bringing them there. As far as your 850 and 9-weight cattle, I guess you have to make the decision. You've got two decisions today. You feed them or you sell them, and you just got to decide what you want to be. The only thing I can tell you, even as painful as it is in the marketplace today, it's a hell of a lot more fun selling cattle in a competitive livestock auction than it is trying to beg a packer to even bid on one today, the way that discovery mechanism is working. They're in a position today where they're killing their contract cattle. They're in a position today where they are taking care of their formula price cattle and everybody who doesn't put any threat to the price discovery mechanism. The only thing that I guess I don't quite understand is when there is no cash trade, how is it that you formulate a price based off the cash market, which basically they all are. So I complained about that 20 years ago when we started pricing these cattle formula. I've been complaining about it for 20 years. Nobody's really seemed to care as we've watched our that form of non-negotiated trade go from none to most in that 20-year time frame. Hopefully, when we're in a position like we're in today, and obviously we're in a crisis, our nation's in a crisis, but this industry is too. Possibly when this thing is all over with, there'll be some good that comes out of it. The only good's going to help you is if you're financially alive when it's over with. But maybe we've got a chance to look at this whole mechanism, this whole way we define price, This whole concept of trying to funnel an industry that's pretty wide at the bottom, that gets pretty narrow at top, with four of them controlling 80% of the trade. And I'm going to use the simple example, and I think Iowa's a good way to do it. So we have a startup plant several years ago. It kicks off over there in Tama. Look at what they've been doing here the last few years. They've been great in the marketplace. They're another buyer out here. They're buying front end Midwestern raised and fed cattle, fit in that niche of the high quality trade, doing it in a super fashion. Get up, get going, ramping things up, doing great. To help out our price discovery mechanism, and then they get swallowed up by one of the big four. And then antitrust just sits back and lets it happen, doesn't any big deal. That's a problem where we're at in our industry today. We haven't had any enforcement with antitrust and the Department of Justice. So we're going to have to look at that things when we're done. We're going to have to look at all this deal and fundamentally decide that if we're just going to tip over and lay down like they did in the poultry industry, if we're just going to tip over and lay down like they did in the pork industry. I know the livestock market operators of America aren't ready to lay down and tip over and turn their facilities into like we did with our hog auction that we built back basically about 1980, which we store hay in today. We're going to fight for our survival, which fights for the survival of the American cow-calf producer. Going to fight for the independent cattlemen, ranchers, and farmers in America. I promise we'll keep that fight up. Our Livestock Marketing Association has been doing it and doing a darn good job of it, and they're going to keep it up. Hopefully, we're going to get a few more people on deck, and one of these days, I guess we're going to have to ask everything from our people that are supposedly representing producers here, what side of the fence you want to stand on. You're going to stand with independent production and independent producers, or are you going to go the other route and let this thing turn over? And when we figure out where everybody stands, I guess then we go to battle and we fight it out, and we're going to see who's going to win. If you ever have any questions, concerns, and of course I know you all do, seems like that's basically all we're going to answer. But I guess that isn't out of the ordinary either. Just the circumstances have changed quite a bit. You call us anytime, we'll tell you about it. We'll tell you about a nice calf and yearling special that we've got coming up Friday. We sell fed cattle and weigh cows every week. As that weigh cow market has perked up a little bit, I think that's their signal to maybe get a few more of them to town. I guess you guys got to decide what you want to do, but we've got them at levels now where they kind of add up pretty good. And we saw some instances today. Broken mouth pairs for 13 to 1400. Turn around and you could sell them, buy some young ones back today for 2,000. That's probably a pretty good time to trade and maybe add 8-9 years into your cow herd. Again, this is John SCHABEN with the Dunlap Livestock Auction. Thank you.